Hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I'm your host. I am also the lead investigator and founder of Deep Woods Paranormal. My wife and I have been investigating the paranormal for over 30 years together. I mean, not together, but in total since we met. So, what are you asking? What happened to the podcast on Friday? The Deep Woods Bigfoot podcast unfortunately didn't go. Um, when I listened back through the audio, there was just so many thises and that's. I have not edited it yet. I will be going through and trying to clip out the EVPs here probably in the next couple days, and maybe I'll show that to you guys too. But if you listen through Amanda's stories, ghost stories on Wednesday night, her podcast, I edited out a lot of the EVPs, but there was still quite a few. One even talked over her as she was talking. It made her voice sound really strange. Sounds like she hesitates or something. So we've had an increase in paranormal activity here at the house recently. It's probably because we're working a couple of cases that are a little more difficult, if you will. Anytime you do a private investigation at a home, especially when it becomes negative, it creates a lot of activity in the house. A lot of strange things start to happen. I was showing Amanda the EVPs, and she was like, "What? No, what?" She couldn't believe all the audio EVPs that she picked up just talking into this microphone right in front of me. She was actually doing a podcast home alone, and just wanted to basically tell a quick ghost story. And as she was talking, something was talking. Well, several entities seemed like they were talking at the same time she was. Now, we do have. I want to be careful about calling the doll haunted doll, but it definitely has an attachment. There's definitely a little girl that is now here in the house since I brought that into the house. Is she haunting the doll? Not really. She's kind of just curious and very, very playful, and she's a sweetheart. She doesn't trying to hurt anybody or scare anybody. She's just doing her thing, which is cool. So I'm happy she has a nice home here with us. Um, so there's also the haunted spectacles, the theater glasses that I got that are old, and I believe something's attached to that as well. We have other pieces of gear that we've been using for close to 30 years that's just stored in the closet behind me, and we'll call that the paranormal closet. We can look into all that later. I'm going to be doing some gear reviews. Somebody keeps people keep asking me to do gear reviews on Bigfoot research gear. A lot of people are getting interested in the field and trying to go out themselves, and they want to know what exactly they should have with them. And everything is basically just user preference. I wouldn't recommend going out with all the. I mean, we have so much gear. I'm not going to go into it all, but we have duplicates of most things. And so if we try to carry all that gear out there, I mean, we'd have 3 or 4 totes full of stuff in addition to our other stuff that we carry with us. There would be no way we could do any investigations at all. So you just kind of pick and choose what you want to use that night or in that area if you're visiting multiple locations. So, what I want to talk about today is EVPs. What are EVPs? EVPs are electronic voice phenomenon. They're any kind of voice that isn't yours or somebody else's, that when you listen back, you can hear a voice on the actual audio. So when we do EVP sessions, normally we use an audio recorder of some sort, digital phones, or use our digital audio recorders, and we ask questions and we listen back for responses. We give them time for them to respond. Why are EVPs important? Because essentially, I mean, if you're talking and there's nobody else in the room or in the area and everybody else is being quiet and you record an answer to your question, that's pretty damn amazing to me. I mean, to get a voice and there's nobody there, for them to be able to manipulate a device or create a voice onto a device or manipulate the device in some way that leaves some kind of a voice that we can understand or something we can understand, and we think it's a we take it as being a voice. So I mean, when you go into a location that's said to be haunted and you get a clear answer to your question and there's nobody else in the room or everybody else in the room's quiet and you can match it up and say that isn't anybody else's voice. We know that isn't, especially when you have two guys in a room or multiple guys in a room or multiple females in a room or ladies in a room, excuse me. And you listen back, you hear a male voice when there's no males present or a female voice when there's no females present. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Just bear with me for a second. And I'm hoping you guys can hear this. So this is part of Amanda's podcast from the day. I'm going to play it, and then I'm going to let you guys listen, and hopefully you'll hear the EVP. And then I will go back and just highlight the EVP. So if you're watching, it's right around here. There's actually something over here too. But this is the main area I want you guys to watch and listen for. It's about, 4 seconds in? Just over 4 seconds in. So here we go.
I'm going to call everyone right now so they can ask their parents. Hello, Jessica?
Okay, hopefully you guys heard that. That noise. Let's replay that. So I'm either hearing the number 10 or I'm hearing Tara. It's responding to Amanda's talking in an intelligent way. It's saying a name or a number. Basically, it's either reiterating what she had said before, how old the kids were, or it's naming somebody from the actual story, which is really cool. I mean, that shows intelligence. For it to be able to understand and be able to communicate something like that is just amazing to me. Now let's look at this little section here. So that doesn't sound like anything to me. It's just kind of garbage. But you can kind of hear it's like a noise. That's could be them trying to break through the barrier. If you're a veil person and you believe that they have to come through the barrier to communicate, then essentially, that may be what that noise is. All right, let's find another clip here. Just bear with me for a second. Oops. All right. So this voice is interesting. All right. So let's listen to this clip. And this is not in any order. If you've listened to Amanda's podcast, you can go back and try and listen for these.
Very often. Jessica and Anna were...
Okay, did you guys hear that? Let me play that for you one more time.
...each other very often. Jessica and Anna were...
Okay, so it sounds like there's a couple things in here. Let me highlight this section.
Very often. Very often. Each other very often. Jessica and Anna were...
Okay, so let's start with this first section and see if there's anything here. That's just Amanda. Okay, so in between, right around a second 0.16, there's this voice, and it's a male voice. Now, she was home alone. There was nobody else here, just the dogs and the cat. And I'm pretty sure, unless we have a talking dog or cat, they didn't make this voice. But this is very whispery, this is very common, and this is very clear. This was what we call a Class A EVP, meaning that you can understand it and you can say, yes, I hear that voice. Now, everybody can use their own judgment as to what this says, but let's play this just one more time. Let me actually make it a little longer so it isn't just hard to hear. Get ready? So to me, that sounds like it says Dan. I can clearly hear Dan. So a male voice saying its name. So there's obviously there was a male entity here named Dan. Now Amanda draws spirits in. She just does. She's more on the clairvoyant side of psychicism, or whatever you want to call it. She is able to communicate with spirits through her sleep. I wake up multiple times during the night, and she's sitting there having a full-on conversation, and it's like, what the world? And I look up, and there's somebody, either I can see them as a person, or they're like a clearer outline, like if you've ever seen the movie Predator, where it's just a outline of a thing, and that's what I kind of see. I don't see features, but I do see a clear outline. And of course, they love to come over and try and chat with me. And it's like, no, 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 no. I'm sleeping. Leave a man alone. We're going back to bed. All right, let's grab another one. So this one's interesting. Let's see if we can hear this one. Okay, again, this is from Amanda's podcast on Wednesday night.
Ready for her 10th birthday. Anna's mother was not sure that was going to be the...
Okay, let me play that for you again. Listen about 2 seconds in.
Slumber party for her 10th birthday. Anna's mother was not sure that was going to be the...
Okay, so just remember that these entities, when they're communicating with us, they're having to create a voice where, they don't have a body anymore. They don't have vocal cords. They don't have any of that. So they're either manipulating the mic or they're manipulating the computer. One of the two. Amanda didn't hear any of this as she was listening through. So let's listen back to this. Let me make it a little longer. Here we go. So to me, that sounds like it says hello. And it's just trying to get her attention, essentially, is what it sounds like. Hello, I'm here. I'm responding to your message, your conversation, and you're not hearing me. So I feel bad for the entity the entities that were trying to communicate with us. Here's a sad one here. Let me play this full thing for you.
Would you like to have a camp-out slumber party? All your friends can...
Excuse me. Let me play that for you guys one more time.
Anna, would you like to have a camp-out slumber party? All your friends can...
Okay, so you want to listen about 3 seconds in.
Anna, would you like to have a camp-out slumber party? All your friends can...
Alright, so let's just highlight the actual possible EVP here. And we'll play this guy for you guys on a loop. And again, anytime I hear these words or this word, I always feel bad for the entity. It means that they're probably stuck somewhere, trapped, something's going on where they need help. And so they're asking for it. In my opinion, this says help. Now remember, the words are not going to be exactly clear like we're saying most of the time. It's hard. You have to kind of use your imagination a little bit and stretch your step outside of the square, if you will. But yeah, this is very interesting that it's asking for help, and this sounds like a different entity than the other two voices. Listen again. So a lot of the times when we get EVPs like this, we get help or help me, and very interesting EVP. Let me pull up a few more and then we'll call this done. So this one was interesting too. All right, again, this is all from Amanda's podcast of the night. She didn't do a very long podcast, but she got a lot of EVPs in the time that she basically did this. I think her podcast was under 15 minutes. Okay, so let's take a listen to this audio.
And that is if Jody can come too. Anna heard a leak.
Okay, so let's listen again.
And that is if Jody can come too. Anna heard a leak.
Okay, so hopefully you guys heard that. Let me play this. Let me play the EVP back for you guys. I'm gonna make this a little longer. Okay, so again, this is open for interpretation. This audio sounds like it either says Karen or Tara, and I know those words aren't close, but if you listen back, just listen one more time. It's very hard to tell exactly what it says. It either says Karen or Tara, and so that's one of the characters in the story was Karen and Tara. So essentially, whoever was saying that was trying to tell Amanda something. I don't know what the message was. We're going to do a special session where we're going to take the mic and we're going to ask a question and leave a little bit of space and see if we can record the voice and then go back and listen to it and then maybe ask a question based off of what its answer is. We're going to give them a voice. Normally we use a spirit box. We might use a spirit box at another time. But if they're able to communicate clearly into this mic like they are, or manipulate the computer like they are, and they're not messing with anything else, that's the rule, no messing with my computer, then we'll allow them to communicate with us through this. So let's grab maybe one or two more. Let's see. Here's this one. Okay, so let's listen through this one.
Started talking at once. They took some time to.
Okay, let's listen again.
The girls started talking at once. They took some time to.
All right, so it sounds like there's a couple things here. Let me go from here to here if you're watching, and we'll listen to this. Okay, so this sounds like it's saying one thing, but it's spaced out. It's almost like I'm not gonna. Let me play this for you again. Now, originally I thought that was Amanda's just taking a breath, but I went back and listened to it. Number one, she doesn't take breaths like I do when she's going through and doing her podcasts. So when she does her podcasts, she's very good. She's really good. She just knows what she's going to say and she says it. Me, as you've probably heard through this podcast, I kind of stumble here and there, but I have 20 different thoughts going through my head at once. Anyways, so sometimes we get two. It's like it's one word, but it's broken up into two parts. So if you listen to this sounds like David. David. I'm pretty sure this says David. Now, we came across a little boy at one of the jails that we were at. His name was David. He was, his dad was the warden there. And, he's very interested in us. I don't know if he's projecting here to communicate with us from the jail. Probably need to go back to the jail and have a conversation with him too. We'll get back into doing investigations over there here shortly. But this is interesting. David. It's actually saying a name. And there's nobody named David who lives here. Listen again. Or it could be saying stay there. One of the two. Again, this is open for interpretation. If you're a skeptic, that's fine. You can believe whatever you want. I'm just presenting these, and you guys can make up your own minds as to what you think they say, or if they say anything at all. It's completely up to you guys what you think. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it is this or it's that. You guys can make up your own minds. Okay, so let's go through. This is interesting. All right, so let's listen to this one and see if we can hear the EVP.
So amazing that all their parents said that they could. It was so amazing that all their parents said that they could.
All right, did you guys hear that? Let me play this section again. Okay, so yeah, it does sound like it's saying my name, Matt. I get this a lot. We get this a lot at locations we go to. Other locations, when people are investigating, sometimes they get my name, my full name, and they ask the people, "Who's this guy?" And they'll refer us to the person that actually caught the EVP, and they'll play it for us like, "Oh crap, we were just there a couple weeks ago. You guys got my name. That's interesting." So yeah, I mean, whatever that shows intelligence. It knows who I am, and it's trying to actually communicate with me. It's asking for me. So that's pretty cool, I think, that they can manipulate the devices to say my name. There's a lot more. Like I said, if you go through and listen to Amanda's podcast, you'll hear it. You'll hear the EVPs in there if you listen carefully enough. Normally, you have to kind of break it down on a computer like I am, or just be very good at listening to what's going on. But anyways, guys, so we'll have another podcast. Amanda's going to have her podcast out here on Wednesday, and then we will have the Bigfoot podcast on Friday. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to cover yet, but we'll either continue on with looking at Texas and why there's Bigfoots in Texas, or we'll move on to something else. All right, guys. Well, you guys stay haunted, and we'll catch you on the next one.